Okay, so you have these people. Then here, you have about maybe here, about half. These people are the people that will just say, no, it's the Republicans. No, it's the Democrats. Have you noticed that they're going back and forth and they're saying the same things? For instance, let me just show you a couple of topics. On terror. What was it that Harry Reid was saying on terror back in 2005? Watch this.
We believe it is time that America had a national security policy that is as strong and as brave and as decent as the heroes who serve in uniform.
Okay, you got it? So what is Harry?
Not the national security policy we currently have under the Bush administration.
Okay, so what is he saying? He's saying blame them. Blame them. Okay, now, can we hear from Dick Cheney this past weekend?
If you're really serious and you believe this is a war, and if you believe the greatest threat is a 9/11 with nukes or a 9/11 with a biological agent of some kind, then you have to consider it as a war. You have to consider it as something we may have to deal with tomorrow. You don't want the Vice President of the United States running around saying, oh, it's not likely to happen.
Okay. What's he saying? He's saying blame them. Now, I happen to agree with Dick Cheney, but see the game that's being played? I mean, we do this all day. Here's Nancy Pelosi about the debt under President Bush.
We must ensure accountability by restoring fiscal discipline and holding those in power accountable for their actions. Democrats support pay-as-you-go budgeting that does not grow the deficit and heap decades of debt onto our children.
I mean, does it even sound like the same woman? Here's Congressman Eric Cantor just a few months ago.
We see the Democrats asking to incur more debt at the same time they are claiming to be fiscally responsible. Another day where it is more of do as I say, not as I do.
I just love that. Do we have to stop her there? Okay, look, blame them. This guy, blame them, and they just switch seats. That's all they do. They just switch seats. Some of them are actually making good points, but why aren't they making it when their guys have power? I'm tired of these. This is you. This part is you. These are the constitutionalists. These are the ones who are rooted in truth, which roots you then and gives you hope. Beware of the people in the Republican and the Democratic Party who are completely interchangeable on spending. Please. The ones who are just blaming each other, it doesn't get anywhere. Be very wary of this fringe. Because you're down here with common sense and hope. President Obama, the first year of the stimulus, he said Americans just don't get it. He's been out there explaining it. He says there's really, that dog won't hunt when there's no dogs barking on any kind of waste. Really? Maybe I just haven't explained it enough to him. We'll do that next. It is the happiest of anniversaries, and President Obama celebrated the stimulus plan's one-year birthday party with a speech. And it was electrifying and positively mind-numbing at the same time.
I want to begin by recalling where we were 1 year ago. Economists from across the political spectrum warned that if dramatic action was not taken to break the back of the recession, the United States could spiral into another depression.
Okay. Across the political, I don't know if it's this teleprompter or this teleprompter that told them that, but across the spectrum, there they are. These are the ones that are against the stimulus package. The liberal, progressive, socialist, Maoist spectrum, because I mean, you've missed all of these. See, they're the hundreds of economists who came out to disagree with the stimulus, publicly, in full-page advertisements, in newspapers, in America. To be fair, the Obama administration did find two supposedly right-leaning economists and put them on their side. First one is Martin Feldstein. He's of Harvard. This guy is great. He unfortunately changed his mind and called the stimulus an $800 billion mistake. So let's forget about him. Take him off the screen. How about we show Mark Zandi? This is a guy, oh yeah, Chuck Schumer, this is a conservative Republican. Yeah. Unfortunately, by his own admission, he's a registered Democrat, so let's just talk about that wide spectrum of consensus, like we do in climate change stuff, because it works so well there. The economic consensus claim is obviously false. He's doing something more subtle here, however. Listen, because he's about to double down.
1 year later, it is largely thanks to the Recovery Act that a second depression is no longer a possibility.
Blood shot out of my eyes when I heard him say that today. He is intentionally messing with the language. You remember the argument, we need to act or we're going to be in a Great Depression. Really, really. I remember that argument, but it wasn't about the stimulus package. It was about TARP. It was about bailing out the banks during the Bush administration, not the stimulus plan under Obama. And while you surely could find someone who thought the stimulus would save us from depression, although I have been a little depressed lately, I can tell you one guy who definitely did not believe the stimulus package would save us from depression, and that one guy's name is President Obama. What are we short of pictures of him? We're trying to save. We know exactly what he thought the risks were if the stimulus wasn't passed. He believed that if we did nothing, this is his words, unemployment rate could go as high as 9%. This is the chart from his own economic advisors. This is the information. Here it is. With a recovery plan is this one, okay, 8%. Without a recovery plan, just 9.1%. Okay? This is what the stimulus did. It saved us from this, not a depression. $787 billion in spending, is going to lower the unemployment rate by a maximum of about 1 percentage point at its peak. But avoid a Great Depression? No. By his own estimates here, he was just passing it to prevent a slightly higher short-term unemployment rate, a rate that was not supposed to rise over 8% if we listened to him. But the problem is, we did listen to him. We did this, and this isn't what happened. You see, we passed it, we listened to him, and it did something different. If he actually believed that 9% unemployment was the Great Depression, then his presidency has just created a situation worse than the Great Depression. Feel free to use that one in your re-election ad, President Obama. But this isn't the only time that he tried to play with the wording of things. Watch.
So far, the Recovery Act is responsible for the jobs of about 2 million Americans who would otherwise be unemployed.
Responsible. There we go with the progressive tactics at work again. Remember this phrase, control the language, control the argument. Common sense has destroyed the credibility of any kind of claim that it saved or created 1 billion jobs. So, change the language, control the argument. Now, he just said, it's responsible for those who would otherwise be unemployed. Well, is that a saved job or a created job? Doesn't matter. And it also doesn't matter, President Obama, what words come after the number. It doesn't affect the fact that the number itself is complete BS. But he's got more to shovel our way.
I'm grateful that Congress agreed to my request that the bill include no earmarks, that all projects receive funding based solely on their merits.
Oh.
And despite that, I was still concerned. Joe and I were just talking in the back. When this thing passed, we said $787 billion somewhere. There's going to be some story of some money that ended up being misspent. $787 billion spent out over 18 months. That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
That is.
And it is a testimony to Vice President Biden and his team that, as Joe puts it, the dog so far at least hasn't barked.
Dog hasn't barked. It's like a pack of wild Cujos ripping up the flesh of the American people. We've given you a dozen examples over the past year, stimulus debacles. How about the wasteful programs? How about the incestuous handouts to invented congressional districts? Oh, and here's my favorite. Lawnmowers that magically created 50 jobs. Even in his speech, he misplaced $75 billion. Where did I put that $75 billion? The total of the stimulus package is not $787 billion anymore. It's now an estimated $862 billion. I'm sure the president is definitely aware that the Congressional Budget Office updated his own number. He's ignoring the giant Rottweiler attached to his leg. I just said to Joe a minute ago, is that a giant dog on my leg?